Hi, welcome to SBR Sports Picks. My name is Peter Loshak. Today is Thursday, December 14th, and this weekend we have a UFC on Fox 26 from Canada coming up. Lawler against RDA, a very interesting fight in the main event, and we're going to break down the four fights on the main card from a betting and odds perspective right now with our regular MMA and boxing expert guest odds analyst, Andreas Hale. Andreas Hale, thanks for being back with us one more time.
Yes, once again, we're getting ready to close out 2017, so let's do it.
For sure. Okay, so RDA Robbie Lawler. This is an awesome matchup, an awesome fight. Obviously, both fighters looking great. You know, Lawler looked great against Donald Cerrone in his last fight, and RDA obviously looks much better since he moved to a welterweight. As you would expect, these odds are very competitive. RDA right now minus 115, the very slight favorite over Lawler at minus 105. Now, I have no idea from a matchup perspective which of these fighters might have a betting edge as far as to win the fight is concerned. But when I handicap this fight, I definitely really like the over at 2.5 rounds minus 135. Since I made that decision and made that bet, it's now gone up to 2.5 rounds at minus 155. I still like it quite a bit at that line, like a little bit less obviously, but I'm thinking the over 2.5 rounds might be another one of these featured fights that has good betting value on the over 2.5 rounds at a modest favorite line. And as far as who's more likely to win the fight, I really have no idea. I wouldn't want to bet against either of these guys. Do you have any sense of who might be more likely to win this fight than the other? And what do you think about the over, Andreas Hale?
No, this is an absolute toss-up. I mean, Robbie Lawler, we don't know if he's shop-worn yet. You know, he got knocked out by Tyron Woodley 2 fights ago. He had a tough fight with Cerrone. Granted, he won, but it was a very difficult fight. Rafael Dos Anjos, on the other hand, has looked excellent in welterweight, but he hasn't fought somebody with the violence, the aesthetic for violence like Robbie Lawler. But here's the thing. It's a complete toss-up. I can't bet on either fighter. But the over in the 2.5 rounds here is it's a very tasty treat. And the reason why is because Robbie Lawler normally goes the distance. Yeah. Or he goes late into the fight. You know, he finished guys like Roy McDonald. That was late. He got finished by Woodley, but that was in the first round. But in his last 10 fights, he's only had 2 fights go under. So going against a guy like Dos Anjos, who's making the jump to welterweight, I figured that Lawler should be able to stand there no matter what. I figured Dos Anjos he doesn't get knocked out very much either. He only been knocked out by Eddie Alvarez. So looking at those two guys, I figured 5 rounds fight more than likely, but definitely over 2.5 rounds. Even at minus 155, I like it a lot.
All right, Andreas. Yeah, I agree with that. That's how I was seeing the fight. And even though I wanted to give it a minus 135, I will make that an official pick. Over 2.5 rounds at minus 155. RDA against Lawler. But of course, RDA has gotten knocked out. We've seen him get knocked out before, and obviously Lawler has a knockout power. And if the fight goes to the mat, then you know, obviously RDA has a big advantage, and Lawler could get subbed. So we could see a finish here relatively early. It's just I feel like the over is probably the percentage play, but both these guys have the capability of finishing the other guy early, don't they?
Yeah, they definitely have the potential to finish the other one early. It's just it's highly likely with somebody like Robbie Lawler that he goes a little further into the fight. I'm not saying that Rafael Dos Anjos is not a heavy hitter, but I can't say he hits as hard as Tyron Woodley. Robbie Lawler also has excellent takedown defense. So 5-round fight, I figure that both these guys will pace themselves. There's a lot at stake because this is a welterweight title shot that's probably on the line here. So I think they'll be a little bit cautious. So 2.5 rounds, over 2.5 is probably the safest bet here. But betting either one of them, you can't go wrong with either guy. They both have been excellent fighters. You got 2 former champions in 2 different weight classes going against each other. But I'm only going to stick with the over here, and that's going to be my lock.
All right, that's what I'm thinking myself, Andreas Hale. Over 2.5 rounds, minus 155 will be an official pick for me, and that's an official pick for you as well, Andreas?
Absolutely is.
Okay, now let's move on to the next fight on the card, Lamas against Josh Emmett. This, of course, is a very interesting one. Lamas, of course, was expected to fight Jose Aldo, and that fight was canceled. So now Emmett has a youngster with talent, you know, taking a big, major step up in class, but a clear youngster with talent is now going to be the opponent for Lamas, and this feels a little bit, it's got to be a little bit disappointing for Lamas, you know, in the same way with the Cub Swanson fight that we saw recently, where Swanson wanted a bigger fight against for a title. He didn't get it, and then he got beat by a youngster who's up and coming in Ortega. We have sort of a similar situation here, psychologically at least, I think, where Lamas wanted to fight Aldo. Now he has to fight Emmett. He's a big favorite here. A little bit of a no-win situation for Lamas here, right? A loss hurts him pretty significantly. A win doesn't help him that much, I don't think, unless there's something I'm not seeing. Lamas has been in this position before. He's faced other up-and-coming prospects who look to make a name for themselves by beating him, and he's handled those situations situations very well, but these, big underdogs with young up-and-coming fighters on short notice always make me very nervous when it comes to taking the big favorite here. Lamas right now minus 275, Emmett plus 235 on the other side. We haven't seen much line movement on this fight here. What do you think? You think Lamas is maybe a vulnerable favorite to get beat here?
No, not necessarily. I think Ricardo Lamas has got a lot to prove. He's looking at a fight where, he's fighting a guy that he doesn't want to fight, and he knows he's in a no-win situation. So he has to look exceptional in this fight. Furthermore, he wants another crack at Max Holloway. Max Holloway just destroyed Jose Aldo again, and Ricardo Lamas and Max Holloway had a hell of a fight. So Lamas is going to go out here and he's going to have to look good. Josh Emmett is a guy he's solid, but he's nothing spectacular. He doesn't finish a lot of his opponents. He has a decent ground game. He has decent striking, but nothing overwhelmingly great about Josh Emmett. So I like Lamas here, but the line is too wide because it is a short notice fight. You don't know what's going to happen. So I'm going to stay away from this fight, even as a whole. The only thing I might like here is the under. But other than that, this is not a necessary fight I'm going to pick.
All right, so you're thinking about the under, I assume, because you're thinking that Lamas is likely to get a finish here, or you like the under because if you think that Emmett does win, he catches Lamas in one way or the other, and so the under might be a good play there. It's actually 2.5 rounds at plus 160 is the under right now, and I was thinking about maybe a shot with the fight going the distance at minus 160, but you obviously like the under. Tell us why you like the under, and are you thinking that maybe Lamas, if someone's looking to bet this fight, they absolutely have to make a bet on it, maybe Lamas inside the distance would have some value? Why do you like the under here, Andreas?
Well, Lamas makes an example out of opponents who come to show up, like Jason Knight in his recent fight. Everybody talks very highly about Jason Knight, and Lamas just ran him over. So I think he'll try to do the same with Emmett here. And that being said, if he takes those risks, it could leave him open to getting hurt. So 2.5 rounds, I don't think one way or another, I don't think either of these fighters are going to be standing up by the end. I'm definitely thinking Lamas is going to finish it because he's got a point to prove. And he has gone the distance before, but we don't know enough about Josh Emmett, to be honest with you. And it's a short notice fight, so we don't know Emmett's conditioning. We just know Lamas is going to be here to fight. And I think one way or another, he's going to try to make an example out of him. Whether it works for him or not too sure, but I think it'll end inside the distance.
All right, well, that's a bit of a contrarian opinion. The market does expect this fight, as I said, to go the distance. The fight going the distance is minus 160 right now at 5 dimes. The fight going inside the distance is plus 130. Again, the under 2.5 rounds is plus 160. And Lamas to win inside the distance, plus 230, Andreas Hale. What do you think about that number right there?
I'm going to take it.
Yeah.
Lamas inside the distance at plus 230. Yes, I'm going to take it. I just feel like he's upset. He wanted the Jose Aldo fight. He wants another shot at Max Holloway, so he has to look impressive. He can't look okay because you got a guy named Frankie Edgar who's probably going to get that title shot, and then you have Brian Ortega who looked exceptional against Cub Swanson. So I think Lamas has got to look great in this fight. So I like that inside the distance. What is that, plus 230 you said? Give me
230, yeah. You want to make that an official pick?
That is an official pick.
Okay, Lamas inside the distance at plus 230, and that is mostly predicated on the value there. Mostly comes from Andreas Hale's opinion that the fight is not likely to go the distance, which is disagreeing with the market. Of course, the market does believe that Lamas is very likely to win this fight one way or the other. Interesting analysis, Andreas Hale. Let's go on to the next fight where the market is clearly expecting a finish, and it's understandable why, right? Mike Perry against Santiago Ponzinnibio, two vicious strikers. Probably we're going to see a finish here, but if you want to bet that the fight doesn't go the distance, right now it's minus 285. So that might be a little steep for my taste, or maybe there is value there anyway. The total is 1.5 rounds. The under is minus 115. The over is minus 105. So clearly the market expecting an early finish here. Ponzinnibio, obviously a vicious striker, minus 190. He's the favorite right now. Perry on the other side definitely has a puncher's chance. He's a little bit undisciplined, but clearly has a ton of talent and a ton of danger in this fight. It's a welterweight fight. Perry is plus 165 on the other side. I'm sure we would all agree that Perry does have a chance here. Is he maybe getting disrespected at plus 165, or is that an appropriate valuation of what his chances are his likely chances are of winning this one?
No, I think Mike Perry is getting disrespected. He's a guy that I really like at welterweight in terms of his striking and his ability. His gas tank is in question. The fight that he did lose against Alan Jabin, he ran out of gas in the middle of the second round. This, on the other hand, against Ponzinnibio, I think Ponzinnibio was getting overvalued because he dominated Gunnar Nelson and got that quick finish. But if you look at that, he had 2 decisions before that against guys like Zach Cummings, who aren't all that great. Mike Perry is a guy who is known to finish fighters. Ponzinnibio has been finished before by Lorenz Larkin. So I think Perry's getting disrespected. I actually like Perry a lot in this fight. to get the upset here. My only concern is if Ponzinnibio gets it to the ground, and I'm concerned of what Perry does if he gets put on his back. But yeah, this fight won't go the distance. I don't think either of these guys are trying to, condition themselves for a 15-minute fight. Somebody's going to sleep here, but my bet is on Mike Perry, and I like Mike Perry, and that's my official pick.
All right, so Perry to win is plus 165, and of course, if you take him inside the distance, you're not getting that much added value, but a little bit of added value. Perry inside the distance is plus 235, actually. So it's a little bit of extra added value there. Do you want to make an official pick on Perry plus 165, inside the distance at plus 235, or neither of those?
Ooh, that plus 235 sounds a little bit too good. I'm going to go ahead and take that. And the reason why is, Mike Perry is not a guy who tries to win decisions. So I don't necessarily see him winning a decision here. If he's going to win, it's going to be by knockout. So give me that plus 235 inside the distance.
All right. That's how I was feeling as well. I was thinking that obviously Ponzinnibio, a very dangerous striker, of course, but that at the current odds, maybe there was a little bit of value with Perry on the underdog line. Definitely agreeing that the fight, agreeing with you and the market, Andreas, that the fight is very, very much not likely to go the distance. So maybe Perry at plus 235 inside the distance is the bet with the most value of all of them, despite how talented and scary and dangerous Ponzinnibio clearly is. Andreas Hale is going to make that one an official pick. Perry inside the distance at plus 235. And then the next fight, another interesting one, Glover Teixeira against Misha Cirkunov. And of course, Cirkunov was expected, was touted as the next big thing in the light heavyweight division until he got knocked out in 26 seconds in his last fight. Do we consider Cirkunov's last fight to be just like a fluke where he got caught, or did he get exposed in one way or another? And maybe he isn't as he doesn't have as much potential as he was touted as having before that knockout.
Well, I think it's a fluke because it's 26 seconds. However, it is a questionable chin, and that's going to be the issue. And Glover Teixeira has heavy hands. Cirkunov, yes, he's a great fighter, but there are some holes in his game. He has lost before, and him getting knocked out in 26 seconds does not help. However, he comes in as a favorite, which is a little bit of a surprise. I know Glover Teixeira is 4-4 in his last 8 fights, but he's fought at the top of the division. So, again, I'm almost in this Cub Swanson Brian Ortega thing where I'm looking at the guy with the experience to have the advantage over the relative newcomer here. But I can't really go against Glover Teixeira here. I think that chin got exposed a little bit, and if he gets touched, he might go to sleep again.
Yeah, see, I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, there was so much, hype and excitement, quote unquote, surrounding Cirkunov before the knockout. If he had just won that fight one way or another, if he had just won the fight, not gotten knocked out and won it, and then was taking this fight, what would these odds be? He'd probably be like 250, 300, right?
Yeah, it's a little insane. I mean, it's complete disrespect for Glover Teixeira and his skills. But this is what people are seeing. They're looking at it as a fluke. The guy had 3 straight submission victories. That's another thing I need to point out here. 3 straight submission victories against a guy like Glover Teixeira, who's a jiu-jitsu black belt, who's exceptional on the ground. That's almost a stalemate. So I don't see too many ways Cirkunov can win unless it's a knockout. But even then, Glover Teixeira's got a pretty decent chin. So I guess they're looking at 2 guys going the opposite directions in their career. Yet and still, I just like Glover Teixeira. I'm big on the underdogs on this card, clearly, but I just like the guy with a little bit more experience with exceptional ground game, some heavy hands to do the job against Cirkunov.
All right, so Teixeira right now is pretty much seen as a gatekeeper, and I guess as of right now, you're expecting that Cirkunov is not quite at the talent level ready to get past the gatekeeper of Teixeira, and that he's not quite right now at a talent level where he should be expected to contend for a belt at the moment.
No, I don't think so. I think this is a relatively thin division where a guy gets a knockout, as we saw Desimir jumps in right into the title picture. So I think Glover Teixeira is still an excellent fighter. He's probably, middle upper crust of that division. But, you got the Alexander Gustafssons out there who had a war with Glover Teixeira. And Cirkunov, who hasn't really proven himself against elite competitions. So I don't think Cirkunov, I'm not saying he's not necessarily ready for this fight, but I think he might be a little in over his head against a guy like Teixeira, who still has a little bit left in his gas tank.
All right, fight not going the distance, minus 180. Cirkunov inside the distance, plus 140. And Glover Teixeira, again, just to win any which way, plus 145. Interesting odds here. I'm still not quite sure what I think about this fight. Is there any bet that you think might have value that you want to go with officially right now, Andreas Hale?
I'm going to go with Glover Teixeira just to win, either by knockout decision at the plus, was at 145. Again, I like it. I figure he has a way to win. If this fight goes to the mat, I don't think Cirkunov can submit him. I'm not sure Cirkunov can knock him out. Glover Teixeira could knock him out, but he might play a little bit patient. One way or another, I think Glover Teixeira will find a way to be good enough to get out of this fight with a victory.
All right, Andreas Hale with an official pick in all 4 of the main card fights on UFC on Fox 26. I'm just going with one play from the entire main card. Andreas Hale and I both like the over 2.5 rounds in RDA and Lawler, currently at -155. Andreas Hale likes Lamas inside the distance over Emmett. He also likes Perry inside the distance over Ponzinnibio, and Glover Teixeira at +145, getting a little bit disrespected by the up-and-coming and very much hyped Cirkunov. Andreas Hale, thanks so much. Great analysis. We'll talk to you again very soon.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now, we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.